So what's up? My name's Kyle, and I'm a huge race fan. Now, usually when I tell people that I love racing, they always go, NASCAR is so boring. All they do is turn left. How can you watch that? It's boring. Well, I'm here to show you there's more racing than just NASCAR. Let me introduce you to the world of sports car racing. Now, I'll be telling you about the various parts of racing, including the tracks, the links to the race, types of drivers that race, and also what types of cars they race. First off, start with the tracks. Now, the tracks, they vary in length and they're all over the world. Some are short, couple miles long. Others are the 13.1 mile track in Germany, which is the longest racetrack in the world. Now, some courses are made up of street courses, which is literally, it's just a road that they close it down, throw some barriers up, and they go racing on. Others are what's called rovals, which are oval tracks like NASCAR races on, but they have a road course in the middle of it. And then others mostly are purpose-built racetracks. Now, second, we're going to talk about the race lengths. NASCAR usually has between 400 to 600 miles that they race. They count it in laps. Sports car racing is counted in minutes. Now, they can race from a couple hours all the way up to 24 hours. Now, there's two types of races. There's sprint races, which is your shorter races, a couple hours, 3 to 4 hours long, all the way to your endurance races, which is 6 hours, all the way up to 24 hours long. Doesn't matter how many laps are ran, it's just how long. Once the clock starts, it doesn't stop till that time is up. Now, you could have a race that goes 800 laps one year with a 24-hour race, and the very next year, they only do 600 because of cautions and different delays. Next, let's talk about drivers. Now, each team has 2 drivers per car and 3 drivers minimum for the endurance races. Now, each driver must complete a minimum drive time and complete a drive change sometime during the race during a pit stop. Now, the drivers are rated based on a driver rating system. According to the Fédération Internationale des Automobiles, or the FIA for short, driver ratings are based on things like age, experience, and on-track performance. Now, the highest classes are your platinum and gold drivers. Your platinum is reserved for F1 drivers, for your top-of-the-class factory drivers, the best drivers in the world. These are professional drivers, that's all they do for a living is race. Now, the 2 lower ratings are your silver and bronze rating. Now, these are sometimes called the gentleman drivers. They are amateur drivers. Silver drivers are ones who just work their way up. They start out, they're just beginning, but they're pretty good drivers. Now, the bronze drivers, those are the ones, they'll work a 9-to-5 job Monday through Friday, go to the track on Saturday, and compete with the big boys. Usually not your best drivers, but they're still pretty capable of driving on their own right. Depending on what rating you get, depends what class you're allowed to race in. Finally, let's talk about cars. Now, the cars depend on what series you're in. For this speech, I'll be talking about the World Endurance Championship, or the WEC for short, and the IMSA WeatherTech Series. Now, the WEC races on tracks all over the world and holds the annual 24 Hours of Le Mans. Richard Hugh has labeled the 24 Hours of Le Mans as one of the oldest motorsports races in the world. It started in 1923 and has continued every year since, with the exception of in the mid-40s during World War II. Now, the IMSA Series, they race here in America, and they hold the 24 Hours of Daytona with the 12 Hours of Sebring. Now, both of these series have similar car concepts, car classes. They have 2 prototype classes and 2 GT classes. Now, a prototype is a purpose-built race car. It's driven by the best drivers. Now, the top classes is your LMP1, or Le Mans Prototype 1 in WEC, and your DPIs, or Daytona Prototype International, in IMSA. And these are the fastest cars, and they compete for overall wins. The drivers are all professional drivers, the world-class best of the best. The second class is called LMP2, or Le Mans Prototype 2. It's the same name in both series. These require a more pro-am driver lineup. We have a professional driver teaming with an amateur driver. Next is my favorite, the Grand Touring cars, or GT cars for short. Now, these cars are more what you look like on the streets. They have Porsche, BMW, Mercedes, Aston Martin. All the supercars are there, and it's just great racing. Now, the top class is called the GTE Pro in the WEC, or GTLM or GT Le Mans in IMSA series. They feature factory drivers on both for all professional drivers. Now, the bottom class is your GTE AM in WEC or your GTD Grand Touring Daytona in the IMSA series. Now, these are the slowest cars on the track. Just like the LMP2 class, these cars are made up of Pro-Am drivers. Now, here's my favorite part of sports car racing. All four of these classes are racing at the exact same time. It definitely makes racing fun when you have different types of cars with different speeds racing at the same time. Different handling abilities, different performance, all going at it at the same time. It's a lot of track management, handling how you're doing and where cars coming up behind you. So that's all I have time for. I hope you enjoyed the wonders of sports car racing. Remember, there is more racing than just NASCAR.